A forced marriage made me a queen. Now my family kneels in regret. I have 4 children you've never met. These 7 words shattered Jin-Ho Kim's world as he stood frozen, staring at the woman he'd walked away from 15 years ago. The tech CEO who commanded boardrooms with unwavering confidence now trembled before Soo-min Park and 4 teenagers with his eyes, his smile, his blood. Jin-Ho had built an empire worth billions, but standing on that community center porch, he realized he was actually bankrupt in everything that counted. 15 years of birthdays, first steps, and bedtime stories gone forever. Could any amount of money buy back the time he'd thrown away? Would these 4 strangers ever call him Appa and mean it? Could Soo-min forgive the man who abandoned her with 4 heartbeats inside her? Or would Jin-Ho's desperate attempt to become the father he should have been end in rejection? Hello, beautiful family. If you are still here for Cedar Drama, please say a simple, "I am here," in the comments. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's begin this beautiful story. Despite having everything money could buy, a technology empire valued at billions, an architectural marvel of a penthouse, and global recognition and emptiness gnawed at him. Jin-Ho sipped his lukewarm coffee, its bitter taste mirroring the regret that occasionally visited him in quiet moments like these. 15 years of relentless work had built his empire, yet something vital was missing. Success felt hollow when there was no one to share it with. Another day, another dollar, he muttered to himself. The old phrase his father used to say, now a cynical reminder of how far he'd come from his humble beginnings. The next morning, Jin-Ho descended in his private elevator, perfectly dressed in a custom Italian suit. His driver waited at the curb, door already open. "Good morning, Mr. Kim," said Michael, his driver of 8 years. "Morning, Michael. Gangnam offices today. Board meeting at 9. As the luxury sedan glided through Seoul's morning traffic, Jin-Ho scrolled through emails on his tablet. A notification from a local news app caught his attention. Normally, he ignored these, but a familiar name jumped out at him. Local hero. Single mother successfully raises quadruplets against the odds. The headline alone made him pause, but the accompanying photo froze the blood in his veins. Soo-min Park, his Soo-min stood smiling, surrounded by 4 teenagers. His finger trembled as he enlarged the image. 2 boys and 2 girls, all around 15 years old, all with his distinctive features. "Michael," Jin-Ho's voice cracked. "Change of plans. Take me to Hope Haven Community Center instead." "Sir, the board meeting." "Cancel it." Jin-Ho could barely hear his own voice over the thundering of his heart. "Family emergency." Family emergency. The words felt foreign on his tongue. He had no family. Not since. Memories flooded back. Soo-min's voice on the phone 15 years ago, breaking with emotion. He'd been so wrapped up in securing his first major investment deal that he'd barely listened. She was pregnant, that much he'd understood. But in his fear and ambition, he'd made the worst decision of his life. "I can't do this right now, Soo-min. The timing is all wrong. Maybe after the company takes off." He transferred money to her account, assuming that would solve the problem. Days later, divorce papers arrived. He signed them without contesting, believing he was doing what was best for both of them. Had she said she was carrying multiple babies? Had he been so self-absorbed that he missed this crucial detail? Or had she not known herself at that early stage? The car pulled up to a modest brick building. Hope Haven Community Center read a simple wooden sign. Children's laughter drifted from an open window. "Wait here," Jin-Ho told Michael, his legs unsteady as he stepped onto the sidewalk. A mural decorated one wall of the center, vibrant colors depicting children holding hands across a rainbow bridge. Jin-Ho approached the entrance, heart hammering against his ribs. Through the open doors, he saw a gathering in the main room. A small celebration appeared to be underway, and there she was, Soo-min, moving among the guests with practiced ease, her smile warm and genuine as she spoke with community members. She looked different, yet the same. Her black hair was shorter now, brushing her shoulders instead of cascading down her back. Laugh lines framed her eyes that had once looked at him with such love. She wore simple jeans and a Hope Haven t-shirt, a far cry from the corporate attire she'd worn when they first met at his startup's launch party. Before Jin-Ho could retreat or advance, a teenage boy appeared in the doorway, tall and lanky with familiar eyes. He stared at Jin-Ho with curious intensity. "Can I help you?" the boy asked, his voice deepening, but not yet fully matured. Jin-ho opened his mouth, but no words emerged. This was his son, his flesh and blood. The boy had Jin-ho's jawline, his mother's nose. Min-jun, who are you talking to? A girl appeared beside the boy, followed by two more teenagers, another boy and girl. Quadruplets, all with features that reflected his own. Jin-ho swayed slightly. I'm looking for Soo-min Park. Aoma, called the second boy, turning back toward the room. Someone's here for you. Soo-min appeared behind her children, wiping her hands on a small towel. What is it, Jun-ho? We're about to cut the... She froze when she saw Jin-ho. The towel slipped from her fingers. Jin-ho. His name escaped her lips as barely a whisper. Hello, Soo-min. Jin-ho's voice trembled. It's been a long time. The four teenagers looked between their mother and this stranger, confusion evident on their faces. Kids, Soo-min said, her voice strained but controlled. Could you please go help Mrs. Lee with the refreshments? I need to speak with this gentleman. But Aoma began one of the girls. Please, Yuna, just for a few minutes. The children reluctantly retreated, casting curious glances over their shoulders. Soo-min stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind her. Her composure was remarkable, but Jin-ho could see the slight tremor in her hands. What are you doing here? She asked quietly. I saw the article about you and the quadruplets. Jin-ho's voice caught. Soo-min, are they... Yes. Her response was clipped. They're yours. All four of them. Jin-ho leaned against the porch railing for support. Why didn't you tell me? Fire flashed in Soo-min's eyes. I did tell you. You were too busy becoming a tech mogul to listen, and then you made it abundantly clear you wanted no part of it. I never knew there were four of them, Jin-ho whispered. Would it have made a difference? Soo-min challenged. One child wasn't worth staying for. Would four have changed your mind? Her words cut deep because they contained truth. Jin-ho had no defense. What are their names? He asked instead. Soo-min's expression softened slightly. Min-jun is the oldest by 2 minutes, then Yuna, Jun-ho, and Haewon. They're beautiful, Soo-min. You've done an amazing job. I had no choice, she replied, but they are amazing kids. Jin-ho swallowed hard. I want to meet them, properly. Soo-min crossed her arms. Why? After 15 years, why now? Because I was wrong, Jin-ho admitted, his voice breaking. So terribly wrong. I've made millions, but I've never been happy. Not really. And seeing them, seeing you, I realize what I threw away. Soo-min studied him, searching for sincerity or manipulation. Jin-ho stood before her, stripped of his corporate armor, just a man facing the consequences of his choices. The door opened, and all four teenagers spilled out onto the porch. Aoma, said Min-jun, clearly the spokesman. We couldn't help overhearing. Is this guy really our father? Soo-min sighed, shooting Jin-ho a look that clearly said, This is on you. Jin-ho took a deep breath. Yes, I am your father, though I haven't earned that title. He looked at each of them in turn. My name is Jin-ho Kim, and I'm so sorry I haven't been here. The Jin-ho Kim? Asked Jun-ho, eyes widening. The tech guy? Kim Fusion CEO? Jin-ho nodded uncomfortably. Cool, Jun-ho exclaimed, then quickly tempered his enthusiasm at his mother's sharp glance. Haewon, the quietest of the four, studied Jin-ho with searching eyes. Why did you leave us? The simple question hit Jin-ho like a physical blow. I was scared, he admitted, and selfish. I thought my company was the most important thing in my life. He met Soo-min's gaze. I was wrong. My nouse. Yuna stepped forward. Are you back now? Like, for good? That's not for me to decide, Jin-ho replied carefully. That depends on your mother and on all of you. Soo-min's expression remained guarded, but something in her eyes had shifted. Perhaps, she said carefully. We could start with dinner, tomorrow night, at our house. She looked at her children. If that's what you all want. Four heads nodded in unison. I'd be honored, Jin-ho said, emotion threatening to overtake him. As he prepared to leave, Min-jun approached him awkwardly. "So, should we call you Appa, or—" "You can call me Jin-ho for now," he replied gently. "I need to earn Appa." He exchanged contact information with Sumin, promising to arrive at 6 the next evening. As his car pulled away, Jin-ho looked back at the 5 figures standing on the porch, the family he never knew he had. Tears blurred his vision as Michael navigated back toward the city center. "Are you all right, sir?" Michael asked, concern evident in his voice. "No," Jin-ho replied honestly. "But I think for the first time in 15 years, I might be heading in the right direction." Jin-ho sat in his car outside the modest 2-story home, clutching a bouquet of cherry blossoms, Sumin's favorite flowers from years ago, and 4 wrapped packages. He'd spent hours selecting gifts that might appeal to teenagers he knew nothing about. For Min-jun, a high-end soccer equipment set. For Jun-ho, a coding kit. For Yuna, wireless headphones. For Hae-won, an art tablet. Would they see these presents as genuine gestures or transparent attempts to buy affection? His watch read 5:55 p.m. After 15 years of absence, being precisely on time seemed crucial. The front door opened before he reached it. Hae-won, the quietest of the quadruplets, stood in the entryway. Up close, Jin-ho noticed her freckles, just like Sumin's, scattered across her nose. "Hi," she said softly. "Ioma's finishing dinner." "Thank you, Hae-won," Jin-ho replied, stepping inside. He offered her the flowers. "Could you give these to your mother?" Hae-won accepted them with a shy smile and disappeared into the kitchen. The home felt lived in and warm, walls adorned with children's artwork and family photos chronicling 15 years of milestones he'd missed. School awards, sports trophies, and handmade crafts line the shelves. Jin-ho's throat tightened at a framed photo of 4 gap-toothed 7-year-olds blowing out birthday candles. 7 birthdays, he whispered to himself. 15 Christmases, first days of school, 60 report cards. 64, actually, came Sumin's voice from behind him. She stood, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel, Hae-won at her side with the cherry blossoms. 4 first steps, 4 first words, 4 chickenpox outbreaks. Jin-ho turned, unable to mask his regret. "Sumin, Dinner's ready," she interrupted, her tone neutral, but not cold. "Kids! Table!" Thundering footsteps announced the arrival of the other 3 teenagers. Jun-ho bounded down the stairs while Min-jun and Yuna emerged from different parts of the house. "Whoa, presents." Jun-ho spotted the packages in Jin-ho's arms. Sumin raised an eyebrow. "Jin-ho, you didn't need to." "I wanted to," he said simply, "though I realize gifts can't make up for lost time." Dinner was homemade bulgogi. Jin-ho remembered it as Sumin's specialty with rice and banchan. The conversation started awkwardly, with long pauses and uncertain glances. So Min-jun finally said, "You make computers or something?" Jin-ho smiled. "Something like that. My company develops software and technology solutions. We started with mobile applications, but now we work on larger systems." "Like what?" Jun-ho leaned forward eagerly. "Like the operating system in your school's computer lab," Jin-ho replied, "and the security protocols that protect online banking." Jun-ho's eyes widened. "That's actually pretty cool." "Is that why you left?" Yuna asked bluntly. "Because you were busy making all that stuff?" The table fell silent. Sumin looked ready to intervene, but Jin-ho shook his head slightly. "No, Yuna," he answered honestly. "I left because I was afraid. I wasn't ready to be a father, and I convinced myself that my work was more important than family." He met Sumin's eyes briefly. "It was the biggest mistake of my life." After dinner, the gift opening broke some tension. Min-jun's soccer equipment especially was a hit, and soon all 4 teenagers were in the backyard testing it, their excited voices drifting through open windows. Jin-ho and Sumin stood at the sink, washing dishes in weighted silence. "They're amazing kids," Jin-ho said finally. "They are," Sumin agreed. "Smart, kind, resilient. They get that from you." Sumin handed him a plate to dry. "The stubbornness is all you, especially Min-jun." Jin-ho smiled, then grew serious. "Sumin, I know I have no right to ask, but may I be part of their lives? In whatever capacity you're comfortable with? Sumin stared out the window at their children. They deserve to know their father, she said finally. But, Jinho, I need to be clear. If you start this, you can't walk away again. They've grown up without you. They've managed. But if you come into their lives now, only to disappear when it gets difficult. I won't, Jinho promised. I've spent 15 years chasing success. I finally understand what really matters. Sumin studied him, weighing his sincerity. We'll take it slow, she decided. Weekend visits. Maybe a dinner during the week. Let's see how it goes. Jinho nodded, grateful for any opportunity. Thank you. In the following weeks, Jinho restructured his entire life around his newfound family. He delegated more responsibilities at work, scheduled board meetings around school events, and declined business trips that would take him away for too long. His executive assistant, Ji Young, watched these changes with curiosity. You're turning down the Seoul Tech Conference? That's the biggest tech summit in Asia. Family commitment, Jinho replied simply, placing framed photos of 4 teenagers on his desk. Ji Young's eyes widened. Since when do you have? It's a long story, Jinho said with a smile. 15 years long, actually. Each of the quadruplets connected with Jinho differently. Junho was easiest, eager to learn about technology and coding. He bombarded Jinho with questions about software development and entrepreneurship. Could you teach me Python? He asked one Saturday morning. I want to build apps like you. Jinho spent the weekend creating a makeshift coding lab in Junho's bedroom, delighted by his son's quick mind and enthusiasm. Minjun was more reserved, his trust harder to earn. Jinho discovered his passion for soccer and began attending his games, cheering from the sidelines alongside Sumin. After a particularly impressive goal, Minjun jogged over at halftime. Did you see that? Minjun asked, trying to sound casual. Incredible footwork, Jinho replied, beaming with pride. You completely outmaneuvered that defender. A small smile tugged at Minjun's lips, the first genuine one directed at Jinho. Yuna connected through music. When Jinho noticed her worn headphones, he purchased top-quality recording equipment for her bedroom. This is professional grade, she gasped, examining the microphone. Musicians use this in actual studios. Your mother mentioned you write songs, Jinho explained. I'd love to hear them sometime, if you're comfortable sharing. Yuna's smile was hesitant but warm. Maybe, when they're ready. Haewon remained the most elusive, quiet, and watchful. She observed Jinho's interactions with her siblings, but maintained a careful distance. Jinho noticed her talent for art, but struggled to find common ground. One evening, after the others had gone to bed, Jinho found Haewon sketching in the living room. May I? He asked, gesturing to the space beside her on the couch. Haewon nodded, continuing her drawing a detailed portrait of her siblings. You have remarkable talent, Jinho said softly. Your attention to detail is extraordinary. Ioma says, I get that from you, Haewon replied, not looking up. She says you always notice things others miss. Jinho felt a surge of emotion at this unexpected connection. She remembers that about me? Haewon finally met his gaze. She remembers everything about you. She kept all your letters. Letters? Jinho's brow furrowed. I never sent any letters. Haewon's expression shifted to confusion. But there's a box in her closet with your name on it. The conversation nagged at Jinho for days. During their next family dinner, while the children were clearing the table, he quietly asked Sumin about it. Haewon mentioned letters, he said carefully. From me. But I never. They weren't from you, Sumin interrupted, her cheeks flushing. They were to you. Letters I wrote, but never sent. Especially during that first year. Jinho's heart constricted. Would you let me read them? Sumin hesitated, vulnerability flashing across her face. They're private, Jinho. I was angry, and heartbroken, and overwhelmed with 4 newborns. I understand, he nodded, respecting her boundary. I just thought they might help me understand what you went through. Later that evening, as Jinho prepared to leave, Sumin handed him a small wooden box. Just the first few, she said quietly. The others are too personal. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and leave a comment saying, I'm still here. It helps our channel grow and we appreciate your support so much. Jin-ho stayed up all night reading Soo-min's unsent letters. Her beautiful handwriting, once so familiar, now documented the hardest year of her life. Dear Jin-ho, the babies came early. 4 perfect tiny humans who each have your eyes. The doctors say they're healthy despite being premature. I named them Min-jun, Yuna, Jun-ho, and Hae-won. I wish you could see them. Jin-ho Jun-ho smiled today. A real smile, not just gas. I caught myself reaching for the phone to tell you before remembering you chose not to be part of this. It's 3 a.m. All 4 are crying at once. I haven't slept more than 2 hours straight in weeks. My mother helps when she can, but she's getting older. I'm so tired I can barely see straight. In my darkest moments, I understand why you left. Tears streamed down Jin-ho's face as he read about Soo-min's struggles, her triumphs, her loneliness. The next morning, he arrived at her house early, eyes red-rimmed from crying and lack of sleep. Soo-min opened the door in her bathrobe, surprised to see him. Jin-ho, it's 6:30 inches the morning. I read them, he said, voice raw with emotion. Soo-min, I had no idea what you went through, what I put you through. It was a long time ago, she said softly, but her own eyes glistened. I can never make up for it, Jin-ho continued, but I want to try, not just with the kids, but with you too. You deserved so much better. Soo-min's composure wavered. For the first time since his return, she allowed herself to cry in front of him. Jin-ho hesitantly reached out, and when she didn't pull away, he gently wrapped his arms around her. They stood in the doorway, the morning sun washing over them, as 15 years of pain began, ever so slightly, to heal. The following weekend, Jin-ho surprised the family with news. I've purchased the vacant building next to Hope Haven, he announced during dinner. 5 pairs of eyes stared at him in confusion. You mentioned the center needed more space for after-school programs, he explained to Soo-min. The building will be donated in the children's names. A trust will cover renovation costs and ongoing maintenance. That's incredibly generous, Soo-min replied, clearly stunned. It's not generosity, Jin-ho corrected gently. It's responsibility. I've missed 15 years of child support. This doesn't begin to cover it. We don't need your money, Min-jun said, a hint of his earlier guardedness returning. I know you don't. Jin-ho acknowledged. Your mother has done an amazing job providing for you. This isn't about money. It's about supporting something that matters to all of you. Later, as they toured the empty building, imagining its potential, Jun-ho nudged Jin-ho's arm. So, does this mean you're sticking around? Like permanently? Jin-ho met Soo-min's gaze across the room where she was showing Hae-won possible spaces for an art studio. Something unspoken passed between them. Not forgiveness exactly, but possibility. If you'll have me, Jin-ho replied, I'd like nothing more. That night, Jin-ho helped tuck the younger children into bed, a privilege he never thought he'd experience. As he turned to leave Jun-ho's room, his son called out, Hey, Jin-ho. I was thinking, would it be okay if I started calling you Appa? Jin-ho's heart swelled almost painfully. I would be honored, he managed to say before emotion closed his throat. Outside in the hallway, he found Soo-min waiting, having overheard the exchange. 1 down, 3 to go, she said with a small smile. They're worth waiting for, Jin-ho replied. All of you are. As summer faded into autumn, Jin-ho settled into a tentative rhythm with his newfound family. Weeknight dinners and weekend outings became the highlight of his existence. Board meetings and quarterly reports, once the central focus of his life, now felt like interruptions to what truly mattered. The renovation of the building next to Hope Haven progressed rapidly. Jin-ho hired the best contractors in Seoul, but insisted that Soo-min and the children have final say on all design decisions. The project became a family affair, with each quadruplet contributing ideas for the space. We could add a recording studio for community music lessons, Yuna suggested one afternoon as they toured the construction site. And a proper computer lab, Jun-ho added enthusiastically, with 3D printers and VR equipment. Min-jun wanted a full gymnasium for basketball and indoor soccer, while Hae-won envisioned a light-filled art studio with north-facing windows. Jin-ho made notes of every request, determined to make their dreams reality. Sumin watched these interactions with cautious optimism. Over coffee one morning, after the children had left for school, she broached a subject that had been weighing on her mind. "The kids are getting attached to you," she said quietly. "Especially Junho." Jinho set down his mug. "Is that a problem?" "It could be," Sumin replied, meeting his gaze directly. "If this is temporary." "It's not," Jinho assured her. "I'm here for good, Sumin, for all of you. You have a life in Gangnam, a company to run. Eventually, the novelty of playing family man will wear off." "This isn't about novelty," Jinho interrupted gently. "And my company can function without my physical presence every day." He hesitated, then added, "I've been looking at houses in this neighborhood." Sumin's eyes widened. "You're moving here? Permanently?" "If that's okay," Jinho said. "I want to be close to the kids. To you." The moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken emotions. "You hurt me, Jinho," Sumin finally whispered. "More than I've ever let anyone hurt me." "I know," he acknowledged, pain evident in his voice. "And yet, here we are," she continued, "having coffee in my kitchen, while our children are at school." A small, wondering smile touched her lips. Life takes unexpected turns. Jinho reached across the table, hesitantly covering her hand with his. When she didn't pull away, hope bloomed in his chest. The peace was shattered that afternoon when Jinho received an urgent call from Sumin. Junho had been in a fight at school and was suspended for 3 days. Jinho rushed to the house to find Junho sulking on the porch, a bruise darkening on his cheek. "What happened?" Jinho asked, sitting beside his son. Junho shrugged, refusing to meet his eyes. "He won't tell me either," Sumin said from the doorway, arms crossed. The principal said Junho threw the first punch. Jinho studied Junho's posture, defensive, embarrassed, angry. "Everyone else gone?" Sumin nodded. "Minjun has soccer practice. The girls have choir." "Mind if Junho and I take a drive?" Jinho asked. Sumin hesitated, then agreed. Dinner's at 6. In Jinho's car, Junho maintained his stubborn silence for several minutes as they drove without destination. "Fighting isn't like you," Jinho observed casually. "Must have been something serious." Junho stared out the window. "How would you know what's like me? You've been around for what, 2 months?" The accusation stung, but Jinho acknowledged its truth. "Fair point. I'm still learning who you are. But your mother says you've never been in trouble at school before." Junho's jaw worked as he struggled with some internal conflict. Finally, he burst out. "Taeho-sung said you only came back because Ioma must have blackmailed you. Said you probably weren't even our real father, and Ioma was just after your money." Jinho pulled the car into an empty parking lot and turned to face his son. "And you hit him for that?" "Wouldn't you?" Junho challenged, green eyes, so like Jinho's own, flashing with indignation. "Probably," Jinho admitted, surprising Junho. "But not because it was true, because it was completely false." He turned fully toward Junho. "No one forced me to come back. The minute I learned about you and your siblings, I knew I had to be part of your lives. That's the truth." "Then why did you leave in the first place?" Junho demanded. "If we matter so much?" The question cut to the heart of everything. Jinho took a deep breath. "I was young, scared, and incredibly selfish," he began. "When your mother told me she was pregnant, all I could think about was how it would affect my goals, my company, my future. I convinced myself I was doing what was best for everyone by walking away." He met Junho's gaze directly. "I was wrong, catastrophically wrong, and I've missed 15 years that I can never get back." Junho absorbed this, some of his anger deflating. "Aoma struggled a lot when we were little. She worked 2 jobs. Halmione had to move in to help." Each word was a knife to Jinho's heart. "I'm so sorry, Jinho. I can't change the past, but I promise I'm here now, for good." Junho studied his father's face, looking for deception and finding only regret and determination. "I believe you," he said finally. "And I'm not sorry I punched Taeho." Jinho suppressed a smile. Violence isn't the answer. But standing up for your family, that, I understand. He started the car. How about we stop for bingsu before heading home? And maybe we don't mention that part to your mother. Jun-ho grinned, the first genuine smile he directed at Jin-ho. Deal. As autumn deepened into winter, the renovation of the Hope Haven addition neared completion. The project had attracted positive media attention, with several articles highlighting the community impact. One particularly prominent piece featured a photo of Jin-ho with Soo-min and the quadruplets, captioned "Tech Billionaire Funds Community Center in honor of his children." The morning after its publication, Soo-min arrived at the construction site visibly upset, newspaper clutched in her hand. "Have you seen this?" she demanded, thrusting the paper at Jin-ho. "I did," he replied carefully. "The publicity should help with additional funding." "It's not about the article," Soo-min interrupted. "It's about the comments people are making online. They're speculating about us, about our relationship. The children are getting messages from strangers." Jin-ho paled. "I never considered how the publicity might affect them. I'm sorry, Soo-min. Min-jun came home yesterday asking if we were getting back together. Apparently his classmates have been teasing him about it." Jin-ho ran a hand through his hair. "What did you tell him?" Soo-min's expression softened slightly. "I told him that we're figuring things out, that families come in many forms." "Are we?" Jin-ho asked quietly. "Figuring things out?" Before Soo-min could respond, Min-jun and Yuna burst into the room, excitement evident on their faces. "Did you see the news?" Min-jun exclaimed. "They're calling Appa a philanthropic tech genius." Jin-ho and Soo-min exchanged a glance at Min-jun's casual use of Appa, a term all four children had gradually adopted over the past months. "And my music teacher recognized us from the photo," Yuna added. "She wants me to compose something for the opening ceremony." Soo-min's frustration visibly mellowed in the face of her children's enthusiasm. Later, as they walked through the nearly completed building, she murmured to Jin-ho, "We should be more careful about media exposure. I want to protect their privacy." "Absolutely," Jin-ho agreed. "I'll have my PR team redirect attention to the center itself, not our family situation." Soo-min gave him a sidelong glance. "Is that what this is? A family situation?" Jin-ho stopped walking. "What would you call it?" "What?" "I don't know," Soo-min admitted. "Sometimes it feels like co-parenting. Sometimes it feels like something more." The air between them charged with possibility. But before Jin-ho could respond, Hae-won called them over to approve the placement of a mural she'd designed. The grand opening of the Hope Haven expansion fell on a crisp December evening. Twinkle lights adorned the entrance, and community members gathered in anticipation. Jin-ho stood to the side, watching Soo-min direct last-minute preparations with calm efficiency. She caught his eye across the room and smiled a genuine, warm smile that reached her eyes. Such moments had become more frequent between them, hints of the connection they once shared. The ceremony began with speeches from community leaders and a ribbon cutting by the quadruplets. Jin-ho intentionally stayed in the background, letting the spotlight shine on Soo-min and the children. This was their triumph, their community. Yuna's original composition, a hopeful melody that seemed to capture the journey of the past months, played as guests toured the facility. Hae-won's murals adorned key walls, bringing color and life to each space. Jun-ho proudly demonstrated the new computer lab, while Min-jun organized impromptu basketball games in the gymnasium. As the evening wound down, Jin-ho found Soo-min alone in the art studio, admiring Hae-won's centerpiece mural, a tree with 4 intertwined branches reaching toward the sky. "She has remarkable talent," Jin-ho said softly. Soo-min nodded. "All of them do, in different ways. They get that from their mother." Soo-min turned to face him. "You've been extraordinary these past months, Jin-ho. The way you've connected with each of them, respected their boundaries, supported their interests." "It's more than I ever expected." "They make it easy to love them," Jin-ho replied simply. "You raised amazing human beings, Soo-min." She studied him in the soft lighting. "You've changed. Having 4 children and their remarkable mother come into my life tends to have that effect," he said with a gentle smile. "And if you hadn't seen that article?" The question hung heavy between them. Jin-ho considered it carefully. "I'd still be existing rather than living," he finally answered, successful but hollow. rich but poor in all the ways that matter. He moved closer to her. Finding you all was the greatest gift I never deserved. Sumin's eyes glistened. We spent 15 Christmases without you. I know, Jinho acknowledged, pain evident in his voice. This will be the first one with you, Sumin continued. The children have been planning your gift for weeks. Jinho felt emotion tight in his throat. Being included in your lives is the only gift I need. Sumin took a step closer. There was a time when I hated you, she admitted softly. When I would have slammed the door in your face if you'd returned. I wouldn't have blamed you. But watching you these past months, your genuine effort, your love for our children, your respect for me and the life we built, without you, I've realized something. Sumin paused, gathering courage. I never completely stopped loving the man I married. I just buried those feelings beneath anger and hurt. Jinho's heart stuttered. I'm not saying I'm ready to pick up where we left off, she clarified. Too much has happened, but I'm open to the possibility of something new, something based on who we are now, not who we were then. Jinho gently took her hands in his. That's more than I deserve, more than I hoped for. Their moment was interrupted by the quadruplets bursting into the room, filled with excitement about the event's success. Appa, Aoma, did you see how many people signed up for Junho's coding class? Yuna exclaimed. And the mayor said my murals were inspirational, Haewon added, her typical reserve overcome by pride. Minjun slung an arm around Jinho's shoulders, a casual gesture that felt momentous. Nice job staying out of the spotlight, Appa. Very humble billionaire of you. Junho nudged his brother. Please, he's just being strategic. Less press means more family time. Jinho and Sumin exchanged a look of shared amusement and wonder at their children's perceptiveness. As the 5 people he loved most in the world chattered around him, Jinho felt a completeness he'd never known. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. If you're still with me, please hit that like button and comment, I'm staying for more. It really helps our channel, and I appreciate you so much. Christmas morning arrived with a blanket of fresh snow. Jinho, who had rented a house just 2 blocks from Sumin's, arrived early with arms full of carefully chosen gifts. The living room glowed with soft lights from the tree as the family gathered to exchange presents. When all the children's gifts had been opened, Minjun handed Jinho a large flat package. This is from all of us, he said, suddenly shy. Aoma helped, but it was our idea. Jinho unwrapped it carefully to reveal a handcrafted wooden frame containing a collage of photographs 15 years of moments he had missed. First steps, first days of school, birthdays, holidays, sports games, music recitals, art shows. And in the center, a recent family portrait of all 6 of them, taken at the Hope Haven opening. Across the bottom, in careful lettering, were the words, "The past we shared without you. The future we'll build together." Jinho couldn't speak through his tears. He simply opened his arms, and all 4 teenagers crowded in for a group hug that felt like coming home. Later, as the children tested their new gifts, Jinho and Sumin stood in the kitchen doorway, watching their family with shared contentment. Thank you, Jinho said softly, for allowing me back into your lives, for giving me a second chance I didn't deserve. Sumin slipped her hand into his. Maybe it's not about deserving. Maybe it's about recognizing what matters and choosing it every day from now on. Jinho squeezed her hand gently. I choose this. All of you. Every day. Above them, someone had hung a sprig of mistletoe. Sumin noticed it first and smiled. Yuna's doing, no doubt, she murmured. She's become quite the romantic. Jinho followed her gaze upward, then looked back at Sumin questioningly. She nodded almost imperceptibly, and he leaned down to kiss her gently, briefly a promise of possibilities. A cheer erupted from the living room. They turned to find all 4 teenagers watching them with varying expressions of delight and mock disgust. Gross, Yuna exclaimed. Minjun groaned, but he was smiling. Statistically speaking, this outcome was inevitable, Junho observed. Haewon simply beamed, her quiet happiness speaking volumes. As Jinho stood with his arm around Sumin, surrounded by their children, He marveled at how completely his life had transformed in just a few months, from empty success to meaningful connection, from solitude to family. It wasn't perfect. There were still wounds healing, trust rebuilding, relationships deepening, but it was real and true and worth every moment. Outside, snow continued to fall, covering the world in pristine white, a blank page on which to write their future together. 1 year later, the Kim Park household bustled with activity. Spring sunshine streamed through open windows as Jin-ho flipped pancakes in the kitchen of their new home, a spacious Hanok-inspired house with enough bedrooms for everyone and a sprawling courtyard perfect for family gatherings. "Appa, have you seen my portfolio?" Haewon called from upstairs. "My college interview is in 2 hours." "Check the studio," Jin-ho replied, sliding a perfectly golden pancake onto a growing stack. "Next to your sketchbooks." The past year had transformed them all. After months of careful consideration, Soo-min had agreed to sell her modest home, and Jin-ho had sold his sterile penthouse. Together, they purchased this warm, welcoming house, halfway between Hope Haven and the Quadruplets High School, a fresh start on neutral ground. Soo-min appeared in the doorway, hair damp from the shower, looking more relaxed than Jin-ho had seen her in years. "You're making your famous hotteok," she observed with a smile. "Special occasion." Jin-ho leaned over to kiss her cheek. 1 year since we moved in together. Seemed worth celebrating. Soo-min's eyes softened as she wrapped her arms around his waist from behind. "Has it really been a year already?" "Best year of my life," Jin-ho replied, covering her hands with his free one. Their peaceful moment was interrupted by Jun-ho thundering down the stairs, laptop in hand. "Appa, the acceptance letters are out." Keist posted them at midnight. Jin-ho and Soo-min exchanged alarmed glances. Jun-ho had applied to his dream school, Jin-ho's alma mater, but had been too nervous to check the results. "Did you look?" Soo-min asked gently. Jun-ho shook his head, holding out his computer with trembling hands. "I can't." "You do it." Jin-ho set down his spatula and took the laptop, heart pounding. He logged into the admissions portal. The message loaded, and his face broke into a wide grin. "Jun-ho Park Kim," he read aloud. "We are pleased to offer you admission to the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, class of 2030. The rest of the message was drowned out by Jun-ho's whoop of joy. He launched himself at Jin-ho, nearly knocking him over with a fierce hug. Soo-min joined them, eyes brimming with happy tears. "You did it, buddy," Jin-ho said, voice thick with emotion. "I'm so proud of you." "We both are," Soo-min added. "Your hard work paid off." Jun-ho grinned, running a hand through his hair, a gesture so like Jin-ho's that it made Soo-min's heart skip. "I need to call Halmioni." He dashed off, leaving his parents smiling in his wake. "He'll be across the country," Soo-min said softly. "I never thought I'd have to face empty nest syndrome with all 4 leaving at once." Jin-ho squeezed her hand. "We'll get through it together. And hey, we can turn their rooms into hobby spaces," he teased. "Bold of you to assume Min-jun will fully move out," Soo-min laughed. "That boy will follow his stomach home every chance he gets." As if summoned by mention of food, Min-jun appeared, hair rumpled from sleep. "I smell hotteok," he announced, making a beeline for the stack. "Wait for everyone," Jin-ho chided, swatting Min-jun's hand away playfully. "Appa," Min-jun groaned. "I have practice in an hour. Coach is running drills all morning." The athletic scholarship offers had started arriving for Min-jun last month. Seoul National University, Yonsei, Korea University, all competing for the soccer star. The decision weighed on him, though he hid it well beneath his easygoing exterior. Yuna bounced into the kitchen next, already dressed in rehearsal clothes. Hair pulled back, in a neat bun. "Morning. Jun-ho just told me about Keist. That's amazing." She hugged her brother as he returned to the kitchen, phone in hand, after calling their grandmother. Yuna's own future was taking shape as well. The Seoul Arts University had shown interest after her original composition won a prestigious Young Composer Award. Haewon finally joined them, portfolio clutched tightly to her chest. Hongik University was interviewing her today, her top choice for pursuing fine arts. Jin-ho looked around the kitchen at his family, all here, all thriving, and felt a swell of gratitude so powerful it nearly overwhelmed him. He caught Soo-min's eye across the chaos, and she smiled, clearly feeling the same. "Before everyone scatters," Jin-ho announced, raising his coffee mug, "I want to propose a toast to Jun-ho and his Keist acceptance, to all of you and your amazing futures, and to your mother, who made everything possible." The quadruplets raised their juice glasses as Soo-min blushed. "To Ioma," they chorused. "And to Appa," Yuna added softly, "for finding his way back to us." After breakfast, the house emptied quickly. Min-jun left for practice, Yuna for rehearsal, and Jin-ho drove Haewon to her interview. Jun-ho remained at the kitchen table, texting friends about his acceptance. Soo-min sat across from him, nursing a second cup of coffee. "You're quiet for someone who just got into his dream school." Jun-ho looked up. "I was just thinking about how different everything is now. Last year at this time, we didn't even know Appa, and now you can't imagine life without him." Soo-min completed the thought. "It's weird, isn't it? How someone can become so essential so quickly." Soo-min nodded thoughtfully. "Love works that way sometimes." "Are you glad he came back?" Jun-ho asked abruptly. "Not just for us, but for you?" Soo-min considered the question seriously. "Yes," she finally said. "It wasn't easy at first. There was a lot of hurt to work through. But your father has proven himself in ways I never expected. He's not the same man who left all those years ago." "You mean he's not a jerk anymore?" Jun-ho grinned. Soo-min laughed. "He was never a jerk, exactly. Just young and scared and focused on the wrong things." She reached across the table to squeeze Jun-ho's hand. "But he's found his way. We all have." Later that afternoon, Jin-ho and Soo-min sat on the back porch swing, watching the quadruplets play an impromptu game of 2-on-2 basketball. Jin-ho's arm rested comfortably around Soo-min's shoulders, her head leaning against him. "All four of them will be gone next fall," Soo-min murmured. "Different cities, different schools. They'll come home," Jin-ho assured her. "This is their foundation now." "Our foundation too," Soo-min replied, tilting her face up to his. "I never thought we'd be here." Jin-ho's eyes crinkled as he smiled. "Married again for 6 months, living together, planning college visits across the country?" "Any of it," Soo-min admitted. "After you left, I locked away any hope of this kind of happiness. I focused entirely on the children." "You were extraordinary," Jin-ho said softly. "You still are." Their conversation paused as shouts erupted from the basketball court. Min-jun had made a particularly impressive shot, and Yuna was accusing him of traveling. "Court violation," she insisted. "You're just mad because I'm winning," Min-jun retorted. "Actually," Jun-ho interjected, "according to the official Korean Basketball League rule book." "Nobody cares about the rule book in a backyard game," Haewon laughed, stealing the ball from her distracted brother and making a perfect layup. Jin-ho and Soo-min exchanged amused glances. "They're going to be okay, aren't they?" Jin-ho asked quietly. "Heading out into the world." "They will," Soo-min confirmed. "They're smart, resilient, and kind. They know who they are and where they come from. That's the best foundation we could give them." Jin-ho nodded, watching as the game resumed with renewed enthusiasm. "And us? Will we be okay when they're gone?" Soo-min turned to face him fully. "I think we've earned our happy ending, don't you? Besides, I have plans for us." "Oh?" Jin-ho raised an eyebrow. "What kind of plans?" "Well, Hope Haven has offered me the director position," Soo-min revealed. "And I know you've been considering stepping back from day-to-day operations at Kim Fusion." "I have," Jin-ho acknowledged. "The new COO is more than capable of running things. I could focus on strategy and innovation, work remotely most of the time." "And maybe," Soo-min suggested, eyes twinkling, "we could use some of those empty bedrooms for more than just hobby spaces. Eventually." Jin-ho's brow furrowed in confusion, then cleared as understanding dawned. "Soo-min Park Kim, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? The foster care system always needs good homes." Soo-min said softly, "We have love to give, experience raising children, and resources to provide opportunities. Just something to consider. Jin-ho felt his heart expand with love for this remarkable woman. "I think that sounds perfect," he whispered, pulling her close. "Absolutely perfect." The basketball game ended with declarations of victory from both teams and good-natured arguments about the final score. The four teenagers collapsed on the lawn, laughing and breathless. "Appa, Ioma, we need objective referees," Junho called. "Min-jun's cheating." "Am not," Min-jun protested. "Just because you can't guard me." "Children," Su-min called back with fond exasperation. "Save your energy. We're grilling tonight, and Jinho's parents will be here in an hour." This announcement prompted a mass exodus as all four teens rushed inside to shower and change. Jinho's parents had become beloved grandparents over the past year, making up for lost time with enthusiastic dedication. In the sudden quiet, Jinho turned to Su-min. "Have I told you today how much I love you?" "Only twice," she replied with a smile. "You're falling behind schedule." Jinho laughed, pulling her to her feet and into his arms. "Sumin Park Kim, love of my life, mother of our incredible children, my partner in my heart, I love you more than words can express." "Better," she murmured against his lips. "Much better." As they walked hand in hand toward the house, Jin-ho reflected on the journey that had brought them here, from the frightened young man who had walked away 15 years ago to the husband and father he was today. The transformation still amazed him. He had nearly missed this, all of it. The everyday joys of family life. The chaotic breakfast tables, the basketball games in the backyard, the college acceptance celebrations. If not for that chance article, that fateful day when he saw Su-min's face again, he might never have known what he was missing. But fate had given him a second chance, and he had seized it with both hands. Now, watching Su-min laugh as she climbed the porch steps, hearing the quadruplets' voices echo through the open windows, Jin-ho knew with absolute certainty. This was always where he was meant to be. Home at last. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to Cedar Drama for more powerful stories about love, forgiveness, and finding your way home. Share in the comments if you believe in second chances. And remember, it's never too late to create the life and family you were meant to have.